guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Dean, head PGA Professional at Shore Hill Golf Resort over in Chorley. Today I'm back in my home studio again, and the topic of the day is going to be steel versus graphite shafts. In this video we're going to discuss the differences between steel and graphite shafts, and also maybe dispel a few myths surrounding certainly graphite shafts that have gone around for many years. We're starting to see graphite shafts getting a little bit more exposure, especially on the PGA Tour, with the likes of Bryson using graphite all the way through his set of golf clubs now. I know Ricky Fowler was testing some also, and today I'm going to be putting that shaft that Ricky Fowler's been using, which is a Mitsubishi shaft, up against just a standard Project X IO steel shaft, which is one of the new shafts for this year. I certainly know Callaway using these shafts in their products this year, so we'll give them a head-to-head and see the differences. So first of all, we'll dispel a few myths surrounding graphite shafts. So graphite shafts are pretty much the norm nowadays for metal woods and hybrids, although that didn't used to be the case. It's been a long time for people to try and sort of gain confidence in graphite shafts. The first ones that came out were really sort of lightweight, flimsy things, and you could, when you was waggling them, you could feel them sort of waving about in the hands, so they didn't feel very stable. So that's the first myth now with graphite shafts. People think that graphite shafts make you hit the ball all over the place, so you're not as accurate as you are with steel, but a lot of that is down to poor quality graphite shafts. Graphite shafts made up of a content of graphite, but also there's quite a lot of glue in there as well, so the graphite shafts that aren't as good quality contain less graphite and more resin, and that's where you're going to get the shafts which feel a little bit wobbly in the hands and not very stable, and you can't control them. If you ever pick up a graphite starter set, for instance, you know, like a cheap box set, and you pull the driver out of the bag, it's all over the place, and that's basically because there's not much graphite in there. It's mainly resin, whereas the better quality graphite shafts have layers upon layers upon layers of graphite wrapped around to create a very sort of consistent profile to the shaft. So that's the first thing. As long as you get a good quality graphite shafts, which, you know, all of the graphite shafts that go into the big manufacturers golf clubs these days are very high quality, then you can't go wrong. A lot of people think that they're just for senior golfers or lady golfers. Again, not the case. You've got Bryson swinging it the fastest out of all the guys on tour at the minute, again with graphite shafts in his irons. What you can find with a graphite shaft is they're a lot more versatile, so making a shaft out of graphite allows to wrap layer upon layer or create thicker sections over at the butt end of the golf club to change the profile of the golf club. So it's a real versatile material. You can get them in all kinds of weights by building them up, making them thicker, and you can make them lighter, whereas steel shafts are not as versatile. You know, they're playing about with lightweight alloy materials now, but you can get graphite shafts in it, you know, 30 grams, whereas steel shafts don't come close to that. I think the lightest one on the market is about 70 grams. That's a Nippon shafts. What you'll notice with a graphite shaft is it's got paint on there. There's painting and it's graphite, so it's going to mark up a little bit more. So you've got these in and out of the golf bag each time you play. You've got to be a little bit careful because you can get them rubbing, you can get them marking easier than, you know, a steel shaft. This test I've got the Callaway Apex Pro 7 iron new for this year. As I say, I'm going to be just using a steel shaft in the Project X IO, and that's just going to be a 6.0 flex, which is stiff, and I'm going to be using that against the Mitsubishi Type 304 SS 95 stiff. So this is going to be about 95 grams. Usually say on the, so 90 grams this one, and 110 grams in this one. So there's a good bit of weight difference between the two. Let's see what happens in performance. Now, I think maybe we'll swing the graphite one a little bit faster as it's lighter, but I don't really think we're going to see much difference in dispersion or much difference in the shot. That's not saying the shaft can't make a difference. It certainly can, but it all depends on the golfer that is using the shaft. There's a lot of talk online with golf shafts, and do they, does a different shaft change impact conditions? Absolutely it can. And it's not the be all and end all. If you're trying to change launch and spin, I'd always go to the club head and the loft. If you're trying to again dial in a feel, then I would be looking at the shaft. And then finally, again, you've got the grip as well. So the grip's of importance as well. The grip's going to again give you that contact, the only contact with the golf club. So it's going to give you a different feel, which will then, make you deliver the golf club in a certain way. If you've ever played golf in the rain and your grips are very slippy, you always end up holding really tight on, trying to keep that golf club in place, nice and secure, and you can often find that you'll miss some shots out to the right. So that's a perfect example of one component of the golf club making a difference, just the grip. Same thing with the shaft. If you've got a really loose, wobbly shaft, it's not very good quality, you're going to struggle to control the club face at impact. And again, the same with the head. If you've got too low a loft, we'll get too low of a launch. So all these components, head, shaft and grip, will make a difference. How much of a difference, that will vary from golfer to golfer, and ability as well. So you'd often find a more proficient golfer would be able to, after a couple of swings, work out the feeling of the golf shaft and then change the release pattern to try and help compensate that feeling they get into the golf shaft. So is that ideal? It won't be, no. You want to be making your own swing and not trying to adjust to the golf club. That's what custom fitting is all about. Anyway, let's go back to let's go to the test, and let's just hit a few with each club. So we'll start off with the steel shaft, go to graphite shaft after that. Okay, so feeling the hands already, just feels like a standard golf club to me. Pretty much like my own clubs. If anything, just a touch lighter, but nothing out of the ordinary. They feel good. A little bit on the heavy side. Okay, that's a nice hit. Just going to move into the graphite now, and let's see what the difference is. Let's see what the feel difference is. So this is the Mitsubishi Chemical Type 304SS shaft, MMT. Now, just looking at the shaft, okay, we can see quite a bit of writing, and there's a little bit of writing down at the bottom which says metal mesh technology. Now that'll be talking about like a mesh wiring around the tip to reinforce the stability in the tip. So again, when we talked about the steel shaft, it's just basically one steel rod. You can change the thickness of the walls and steps in the shaft, but with a graphite shaft, they're adding different material at that metal mesh down at the bottom, you know, to help reinforce and stabilise the tip, stiffen it up, and as I say, wrap more layers on for that consistent graphite shaft. So much more of a versatile material. Does it suit everybody? No. I would say you'd get more feel with a steel shaft because it doesn't vibrate as much. If you take a steel shaft and a graphite shaft with no head or grip attached, drop them from a height on a concrete pavement, you will definitely notice a higher pitched sound from the steel shaft because it's vibrating more, whereas a graphite one won't. It'll just sort of thud down to the ground and you won't really hear as much of that sort of vibration coming from the steel shaft. So for your older golfer, for your golfer who's maybe got a bit of tennis elbow, a bit of arthritis, graphite shaft is such a good option for this golfer. Okay, in the hands it does feel a little bit lighter. If anything, I feel a little bit more weight down at the bottom, at the head. Okay, whereas a steel shaft felt more of a sort of continuous weight throughout the golf club. Now these are the first balls I've hit today, so I'm not really up to speed. That was 91 miles an hour, so it was good enough. What I am noticing is the shots I've hit are a little bit thin with this golf club, so I think the weight of the golf club being a little bit lighter is now causing me some timing issues. Okay, but that's nothing a few shots of this golf club won't sort out. I'll be able to then feel the weight through the hands better over a period of time of testing this golf club. Good hit, a nice solid hit to finish that series of shots with. My average carry is 161 with the graphite. It's 157 with the steel, so I'm going to put that down to just strike how I've struck the shots. If we look at the backspin number, you can see that the backspin of the steel shaft 6,217 as opposed to 5,323 with the graphite shaft. Now I mentioned that I've thinned a couple with the graphite shaft, so that's going to take some spin off and then increase the distance. So that's just about strike. If we look at my further shots, we've got 162 carry with the steel shaft. Okay, and then we've got 167, 164. So very similar. I'm going to go back to the steel shaft now just to hit a couple more. A quick sort of overview here, but I'm going to retest. I'm going to do a quick retest of it just to double check that I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. I just think it's down to how I struck the ball, that added distance from the graphite shaft. I forgot to mention club head speed on there, and we've got 88 miles an hour as opposed to 90 miles an hour, so again not an awful lot. If anything, it's just a shade faster with the graphite. again, straight away, I can just feel the weight of the golf club is heavier. Okay. It's a good one to start with, and that's 166 carry straight away. So just as a thought, we could hit the graphite shaft again, and we're going to find very similar results between the two. .169. Okay, so I've gone 169. Definitely a strike issue in my swing. Okay, I've averaged 8 left with the steel, and I've averaged 10 right with the graphite. So again, I'm just saying they're pretty much as consistent as each other. I'm finding it harder to turn the graphite shaft over, maybe because it's lighter and it's affected my timing. Maybe subconsciously I don't want to lose it left, or I might find it easier to lose left because I've got a lighter club in my hand, so I'm altering impact to try and keep the club face blade square for longer, hence why I'm not hitting them as far left as the steel shaft. That could be something to do with it. So all in all, graphite and steel, for me, very similar. I would be definitely championing the graphite shaft to anybody suffering from from issues such as strength, okay, also arthritis, bit of joint inflammation, joint problems, anything like that. Move into that graphite shaft. Ladies, seniors, golfers that don't have much club head speed, definitely look into something like the graphite shaft. Also, the chap that needs to build a longer golf club, again, graphite will come in handy there because it keeps the weight down. Whereas if you've got a heavy steel shaft and that guy's quite tall, you need to put an inch on the golf clubs. That's going to make that golf club quite heavy in the swing weight. So, as I say, you can be a little bit more versatile with the graphite shaft. Consistency of the product is very good. They both felt pretty similar. I like the added weight of the steel personally. I feel that it just feels more like a normal golf club does to me. I'd have to take a bit of getting used to for this graphite shaft. Well, could I play it in a set of golf clubs without a problem? Yeah, I could definitely put some graphite shafts in the bags. Will I? No, I won't. I'll stick to steel because I like the feel of the shaft. I like the feedback of the shaft as well because it vibrates a little bit more, so that gives me the sensation through the shaft into my fingers, so I feel a little bit more at impact. So there you have it, graphite versus steel. Not a lot of difference. We've got some pros and cons to both. As I say, steel heavier generally, graphite lighter. Graphite more versatile product, so you can do more with the shaft. You can make it fit the golfer a lot more. Okay, so there's more things you can do in manufacture with a graphite shaft. Steel, less so. Okay, more feel. Okay, and more vibration through the steel than you do with the graphite. One other thing, finally, which I've not touched on, is graphite being more expensive. It's a more expensive manufacturing process, therefore it's more expensive to retail. Also, the cost of the graphite as well will be dearer. So expect to pay more for a set of irons with graphite shafts in than you would with steel. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button. If you've used graphite shafts or steel or gone from one to the other, comment in the comments below. Let me know how you've got on. Have you gone backwards since changing to a steel shaft or a graphite shaft, or has it catapulted your golf into a better state of play because you've gone from steel to graphite, or vice versa? Let me know in them comments. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon with the next one.